All right, Akim. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, let's give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai, Ba'ashim Rakak. Double honors to the apostles and elders, great millstone of teaching us his truth. Salutations to the sincere Akim and Aqua that may listen. May the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Brother Raquai. I'm back here with another quick and as well as always an edifying lesson. And for today's lesson, I just wanted to touch on these two ideas that have just been floating around in my mind. On the screen, it says prayer and protection, right? So, what really and truly what inspired the lesson was a clip, a live lesson I saw from one of the brothers in Orlando. And this is just one of the topics he was just showing. Let's see if I can just pull it up real quick. So this was the video.
At Chewy.
So it says Venezuelan gangs now kicking black people out of their apartments in Woke, Colorado. So I didn't watch the video yet, but he was just discussing a couple things in regards to this, as well as many different wars and many different current events essentially that what's going on in the world. So with all that being said, to sum it all up and bring it back to the point, really, what I really wanted to touch on was the importance of prayer, and because essentially what we need is protection during these times. And so, what I want to do is really touch on. I just want to open up first with this precept here. Okay, this is Lamentations 2. On top here it says Yahweh's anger over Israel. So Lamentations 2 verse 2, and it says, without mercy, the Lord Yahweh hath destroyed every home in Israel, and his anger he has broken down the fortress walls and of beautiful Jerusalem. He has brought them down to the ground, dishonoring the kingdom of its rulers. I'm reading the NLT, by the way, and it says, verse 3, all the strength of Israel vanishes beneath his fierce anger. The Lord Yahweh hath withdrawn protection as the enemy attacks. He consumes the whole land of Israel like a raging fire, right? So really what I want to bring this out because that raging fire is coming back again through these different countries using their intercontinental ballistic missiles, right? And this is going to be an essential important part in that third woe that you read about. I believe it's Revelation 11, right? And what we have is we don't have protection, right? And I say that in the carnal sense. A lot of these Israelites, what they do, like for example, just use Rick Ross as an example because he has this bunker, so to speak, and that bunker, that is what they're using for their protection, right? And the things that we need to be protected from, we need a strong and divine intervention, right, from the things that are about to come upon this world, right? So let me go over to Matthew as well. Okay, this is Matthew chapter 24, verse 12. And it says, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. In the NLT, it says, sin will be rampant, everywhere, and the love of many will grow cold. And slowly, as you see, as things become a lot more expensive, things become a lot more difficult, you're going to see that slowly that love that so-called that love that's in the air, that peaceable warmth that people have for their neighbors and so on and so forth. All that's going to start being it's going to start withering away. You're not going to see that in the air anymore. There's going to be a coldness, because people, especially Esau, is going to switch into seeing you Israelites as the enemy, and you Israelites need to understand and wake up to this understanding that this man is still your enemy, regardless if he walks by you on the street, regardless if he serves you your coffee at Tim Hortons. You Israelites need to understand that you still have enemies, and you need protection. Understand, right? So, needless to say, this is very, very important. Why it's important to come back to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Bashim Shai, so we can get that refuge, so we can get that protection during these times, right? Because we are a defenseless, I hate to say the word defenseless, we are worms. We need protection. We are sheep. A sheep need a shepherd, right? They need to be guided. We need to be protected from the wolves, from these different elites, from these different from the crafty counsel that happens in this world, right? So, um, and also that protection also includes a lot of these wicked Israelites as well. Let's see, is it Sirach 39? No, that's not it. Just bear with me 1 second. Oh, it's 28. Okay, Sirach 39, verse 28. And it says, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury, lay on sore strokes. In time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease wrath of him that made them, right? So you're going to have a lot of these people who are essentially been wronged by society, and they're going to see they're going to essentially want to rise up and take revenge on a lot of these people. And a lot of these people who have essentially been wronged, whether it's by women, right? Because a lot of these men, they have a lot of pent up anger, and they're just waiting for their opportunity to essentially, ravish. And a lot of these men that have been screwed over by whether it's, their livelihoods that have been taken away from them, because, during, for example, the lockdowns that happened with that demic that happened a couple of years ago, a lot of these men lost their livelihoods and lost their ability to provide for work, provide for their family, right? So you have a lot of these men that have that anger pent up and just waiting for that opportunity to pounce on these particular folks like the PM of Canada, for example. These so-called how do you call these people? Politicians, right? They're just waiting for that opportunity, right? But this is examples of that spirit's created for vengeance, right? So there's another point I also wanted to make. Oh, it's in regards to if you brothers have ever seen that movie, The Dark Knight, and there is a scene in The Dark Knight, for example, where Joker is interrogating Batman. And one of the things that Joker says, and I still remember to this day, he says that these civilized people, they will eat each other, right? And that can even be physically as well, and literally, right? This is something that a lot of these people are, um, waiting for the opportunity to do these particular things, right? So this is the kinds of spirits that you have on these people, right? And what's happening now, we have so much bread and circus going on, where it essentially what that does, it keeps the people sedated. It keeps the people's minds distracted of the different um, uh, current events that are going on, right? And it's the same thing, and it's the same tactic that was used in Rome, right? So that's why the scriptures say that there is nothing new under the sun, because all these tactics that these politicians use, these particular tactics were used in ancient Rome as well. So not to go too off the topic, but trying to stay on the topic in regards to prayer. And what I want to do is let's go to okay, this is Tobit chapter 12, verse 8. Kind of just stick on the point, right? So it says, prayer is good with fasting, and alms and righteousness. A little with righteousness is better than much with unrighteousness. It is better to give, it is better to give alms than to lay up gold, right? And that's something I've been noticing a lot these days with a lot of people who've been discussing the news on YouTube. They encourage their followers, encourage their folks to essentially rack up gold. But when you really think of it, even if you did rack up gold, right, and you're in the midst of crisis, you don't have running water or electricity and all this kind of stuff, like what are you going to do with the gold, right? And people don't think this far ahead. You just essentially what happens now, if you have that gold and people know that you have that gold, they're going to take that gold away from you, right? And it's going to be, now you essentially become a target, because especially Jake doesn't understand the importance of the importance of wisdom as a whole. So really important, the really and crux of the thing that Jake is missing is really and truly is the wisdom, starting with the fear of the Lord, right? So I'll read that last part again. It says, it is better to give alms than to lay up gold, right? So scriptures say that riches profit not in a day of wrath, but righteousness can deliver from death. Verse 9, it says, for alms doth deliver from death, and shall purge away all sin. It says, those that exercise alms and righteousness shall be filled with life, right? So this is one of the ways that we want the Lord to essentially kind of remember us and protect us in those times, because we don't have physical things, big tanks and big sticks, to essentially kind of protect us from the enemy, right? We have to rely on Yahweh Bashim Shai to essentially protect us in those times, because we don't have anything. A lot of these camps, they go to camp. I saw a brother posted in the chat, in regards to there was a camp. I don't remember. I believe it was Sakari, and they were going to they were having camp with sticks, carrying sticks, right? And that's just absolutely foolish, absolute nonsense. But also this lesson is really and truly to stress the importance of prayer, right? And the importance of actually, storing up treasures in heaven and righteousness to be able to deliver us from these particular situations, right? Okay, let's go back to Ecclesiasticus. It says Ecclesiasticus 35 verse 16, and it says, he that serveth the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushai shall be accepted with favor, and his prayer shall reach unto the clouds. The prayer of the humble pierceth the clouds, till it come nigh he will not be comforted, and will not depart until the Most High Yahweh shall behold to judge righteously and execute judgment, right? So what we want is the Lord to, hear our prayers, and protect us from the wiles of the devil, disappoint his crafty counsel, and keep us, in remembrance, especially in those times, because essentially in these times, what's happening is we're we're like a woman in distress. Like, what's that saying in the world? They say, damsel in distress. We're a damsel in distress, right? Because you have all these different heathens surrounding about, trying to essentially have their way with you Israelites, right? So, what we need is a divine power and intervention to protect us from the wiles of the devil and from our enemies, most particularly Esau. What I want to do, let's go to here. Let me just get a quick account. Second Kings. Okay, Second Kings 19 verse 14. It says Hezekiah's prayer, right? So Hezekiah is one of the kings of the southern kingdom. I'll start at verse 14, and it says, after King Hezekiah received the letter from the messengers and read it, he went up to the Lord's temple and spread it before the Lord Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai. And Hezekiah prayed his prayer before the Lord, O Lord Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, power of Israel, you are enthroned between the mighty cherubim. You alone are power of all the kingdoms of the earth. You alone created the heavens and the earth. Bend down, O Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and listen. Open your eyes, O Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and see. Listen to Sennacherib's words of defiance against the living power. It is true, Lord, that the kings of Assyria have destroyed all these nations, and they have thrown the gods of these nations into the fire and burnt them. But of course, the Assyrians could destroy them. They were not the gods. They were not gods at all. Excuse me. Only idols of wood and stone and shaped by human hands, right? And it's true, because all these gods of these nations are idols, right? The Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai made the heavens. So, what's going on here is essentially you have this Syrian king named Sennacherib trying to essentially try and taunt and come up and not usurp their authority, I should say, but trying to come up against King Hezekiah, right? So King Hezekiah being one of the examples of a righteous king, essentially what he does now, he essentially prays to the Lord, right? For for that protection. So it says, verse 19, O Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, our power, rescue us from this power. Then all the kingdoms of the earth will know that you alone, O Lord, are the power, right? So what happens is essentially when you fast forward, for the sake of time, I don't want to go through all of this, but it's a very, very good story. It's very, very, it's a very interesting faith booster. Very comforting story. But I'll just jump down to the end. Okay, verse 35. It says, "In that night," it says, that night the angel of the Lord went out to the Assyrian camp and killed 185,000 Assyrian soldiers. When the surviving Assyrians woke up the next morning, they found corpses everywhere. Then King Sennacherib of Assyria broke camp and returned to his own land. When he went home to the capital of Nineveh and stayed there. One day, while he was worshipping the temple of his god Nisroch, his sons Adremelech and Sharezer killed him with swords. Right, so essentially, what happens now? God is judgment, right? And then they escaped to the land of Ararat, and another son, Esarhaddon, became the next king of Assyria, right? And that's very, very what I wanted to bring out here, because we're essentially kind of in that same state. We're just noticing, um, Esau, coming up with his crafty counsel, trying to put that grain of rice inside of us, and essentially what we need is we need that divine protection during those times, right? So, um, hopefully this video was edifying. I didn't want to make it the lesson too long, but it's just in regards to like prayer and showing the importance of that protection that we need in these times, right? Like even for me, for this, on a simple example, I for me, I pray before I leave my house. I pray before I eat my lunch or my dinner, and before I leave the plantation, right? Because these spirits are out here, right? Trying to take out people, and sometimes a lot of these people that be driving to the plantation and driving to work or to come back home, a lot of them don't even make it to the destination, right? So anyways, I just wanted to make that quick point, something I try to do my best to practice, and thought I would share this with you brothers. So anyways, Lord's will, as always, this lesson was edifying. Just like to give our praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Until next time, I say Shalom.